So tell me about updates. Hello and welcome to iPhone Black and White, video series dedicated to help anybody become an iPhone expert, even you. Okay, in this video we are going to go over updates, absolutely everything that you need to know about updating your iPhone or your iPad. And we're going to kind of cover absolutely everything, showing you how to do the updates, the best way to do the updates, whether you should do the updates, and if there's ever a time that you shouldn't. So we will cover all the pros and cons and everything you need to know. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so the first question to answer is, should you update your phone? And the answer is yes, you should. And understand that it's necessary. And the reason it's necessary is you've got to remember that your phone or your iPad, it's a small computer. So the software that's running your device, it needs to be updated, regularly when the updates come out, because it's going to have a lot of fixes to glitches or problems that maybe some of the apps are running into. Maybe, there's apps that, Apple's released that you rely on heavily, and there are some problems that are occurring with them, and so Apple can fix it through updates. Basically, for the average person, when you see an update, you should almost be almost excited to oh, okay, well, let me get the latest software, and it should be making the device run better. There's really only a few times that you would ever be in a position where it's like, okay, well, maybe you shouldn't update. And like I said, we're going to cover that more thoroughly here in a minute. But for the average person, when you see an update, you should want to update because it is supposed to be something that will be improving your device. It will make it run better, etc., etc. And so the first thing we're going to look at is really just to see how you update. And it's actually super simple. And all we're going to do is we're going to go to our test phone here. We're going to click on settings. And then we're going to scroll down and click on general. And then click on software update. And at the time of this recording, 14.4.1 is coming out. And so you're just going to click right there where it says download and install. You will put in your passcode if it asks you. Or if it asks for a password, you'll put in your Apple ID password. And then all that's going to happen is it's going to start downloading. Now, this update, as you can see, it's saying estimating the time remaining. This update was actually really quick. So what you'll end up noticing is the update really won't take a long time for it to download. What takes a more significant amount of time is when it prepares the update. That means it's processing the update and getting it ready to install. This could take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, maybe even up to a half hour. It just depends on how far back your phone basically is and what software you're actually running on it. So suffice it to say, that's the easy way to do it. Is if a software update is out, you can just do it manually. Now, there is the automatic way to do it, and a lot of people will choose to do automatic updates. Remember, the automatic updates are going to install on their own as long as your phone is plugged into a power source and it's connected to Wi-Fi. As long as that is happening, then basically when you're asleep, your phone will download the update, it'll process it, and then it will install it. I like to do it manually. I don't like to do the automatic updates. I like to, because I'm a nerd, I like to read what the updates are going to be about, etc., etc. So I like to just see that. So I just do it manually. I just find it easier to do it that way. Word of warning, this isn't really a warning, I guess, but if you have never done it manually, just understand something. Once the update is downloaded and it's processed, your phone, you can continue to use your phone, but when it's finished, what you're going to do is you'll click on that same screen we were on, and when it's done, it'll give you the option to install now. You just click install now, and then don't panic, because your phone might actually start to act a little bit funky. Like the screen might start flashing, or it'll turn off and back on, and it'll just look odd. Don't worry, it's fine, it's normal, there's nothing to worry about. Just leave it alone. You'll know when everything's done when it basically shuts off and then it turns back on and you get back to your home screen just like you normally would. That's totally normal. Don't panic. Okay, there is another way to update your device, and that is going to be using the computer. Now, I'm not going to be able to kind of use iTunes, but we are going to look at an article from Apple, and it will kind of give us the step-by-step. Again, I will link this into the video, so let's take a look at this. So once again, we're from support.apple.com, and it's called Update Your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch. It's all the same steps. Basically, the top here is everything I just covered with you right from the get-go, how to do it from the phone directly. Now, a couple words of warning that it gives here. It says, if you see an error and need more space when updating wirelessly, that is a possibility. If you've got like a 32 gigabyte phone and you're using 30 gigabytes, well, the update might take more space than you've got. So it's no big deal. All you need to do is to actually just delete some of your apps, and don't panic. Deleting the apps from the phone just so you can create enough space to download and install the update. And once you've done that, go back in and you can download your apps again. So you're not really getting rid of anything long term. You're just making enough space in the meantime. And the other thing that's worth mentioning here is some software updates aren't available wirelessly. That's rare. Mostly that's always going to happen. But the other word of warning is your VPN or proxy connections might prevent your device from contacting the update servers. So if for some reason you go in to do the update, and let's say maybe you're a bunch of updates behind and you can't figure out why, if you've got a VPN on your phone, try basically turning the VPN off and try it again. And just do it manually. If it doesn't work, then what I'd advise you to do is actually delete the app completely. Remember how to delete the apps. Watch my video on the apps to see how to delete it the way you should, because a VPN, if you delete it just from the home screen, might not actually delete it. So, but that is just the other word of warning here, is the VPNs can actually prevent you from downloading the updates. This will also give you customized automatic updates. Don't worry so much about that. But this is the main thing we're looking at here, is updating your device using your computer. If you're using a Mac computer that's running Catalina or later, I think the big one out now is Big Sur, then what you're going to do is the steps will be pretty much the same, but you're going to be using Finder. This is showing us an image using iTunes. So for anyone using a Windows computer, this is the way you would do it. You would get onto your Windows computer, you would make sure you've got iTunes downloaded, and then you're going to connect the phone to the computer, and then locate your device on the computer screen. It should show up right here. And then click General or Settings, then click Check for Update. So you'll do that, and then click Download and Update if asked to enter your passcode. And so basically you get to this screen and you're going to click on Check for Update. Do not click Restore iPhone. If you do, it's not the end of the world, but if you click Restore iPhone, you're actually going to delete your phone and erase it. Don't do that. It's better for you to click Check for Update, and this will work. So if you ever run into a problem with trying to update your phone wirelessly, check for a VPN. If you don't have a VPN and you still can't update wirelessly, then go ahead and plug it into the computer, and then it should work this way. And last word of warning here is if you see error messages on your computer or need more space to update, it's the same concept. You just need to delete some things from the computer, some programs, and then you can download the update, install it, and then re-download anything you deleted from the computer. Okay, so time for the nitty-gritty. Is there ever a time when you should not update your phone? And the answer to that is usually you always want to update, but there's a couple times when you might think about not updating. And one example of this would be people who are using CarPlay. Now, don't misunderstand. I'm not saying if you use CarPlay all the time that you shouldn't update your phone, because you should, but be forewarned, it is not uncommon for people to update their phone and then all of a sudden CarPlay is no longer working. And the reason most likely that is happening isn't because there's a problem with your phone or that there's a problem with the software. The problem is, you got to remember, your car is also using its own operating system. It has its own software. So if the firmware on your car has not been updated in a long time, like maybe you just haven't been to the dealership to get your oil change and they haven't updated the software, then there's a chance that if you update your phone, CarPlay is not going to work. That is not an uncommon thing, but again, it's not really a problem with the phone or the software. It just means that most likely what you need to do is to get your car into the dealer to make sure that you're running the latest software from the manufacturer. That's just like one... that's a really good example because I've seen that before. People in the past kind of complained like, I did the software update and now my CarPlay doesn't work. It's like, yeah, it's probably just because you got to update that software in the car. Okay, what about some of your apps? What if all of a sudden they aren't working? Now, this is also something that I want to say is not really common, but it does happen occasionally. And so think of it this way. So if you've got an app that you've downloaded, and it's an app that you've used for a really long time, and that app has like never updated. Maybe you've got some kind of obscure app that you downloaded 5 years ago that you're using all the time, and there have been no updates to that app at all. Maybe that developing company went out of business or something, so there's no updates, and all of a sudden you update your phone and that app doesn't work. That is a possibility, and it's simply because that app is designed to work within a certain parameter of the operating system that Apple is releasing. So don't be surprised if you occasionally would find an app that basically isn't going to work anymore. I want to stress to you that this is not a common thing. Most people are using apps, and these apps are being updated regularly from the app developers. So it's not like if you're using Facebook, for example, that all of a sudden like it's not going to work anymore and Facebook has no idea what's going on and you need to contact Facebook. That's probably never going to happen. So like the big tech companies, they're always going to be making sure that their operating systems or their software with their apps is going to be working with the operating system that Apple is releasing. So don't panic too much, but if you're using something that is like 5 years old, then maybe think twice about updating your phone out of fear. And the best thing I can kind of tell you to do is to just go to the internet, go find that app developer, and just make sure that that app is still going to be able to work with the latest software from Apple. Okay, the last thing that I want to answer here that somebody might be asking is there ever a time when I shouldn't update my apps? And the answer to that question is yes. And I'm going to give you an example. Now, I've kind of talked about the software on the phone. Eventually, every single person who's got an iPhone or even an Android phone, this is going to apply for any piece of technology, is that eventually you are no longer going to be able to update to the latest software. It's not anything that you need to worry about immediately. This is years down the line. Now, at the time I'm recording this, the phone that would probably be the most common to run into this kind of an issue is going to be an iPhone 6. Because an iPhone 6, I believe, can only run 12.5.7. The latest software is 14.4.1. So an iPhone 6, it can't run the latest software. It can't run 13.0 or higher. So it's at the end of its life. And you got to understand, it's, an iPhone 6 is over 5 years old at this point. It's an old phone. And with any kind of technology, when you run so long with the latest software coming out, the hardware that's actually in that phone or any kind of technological device, it's just basically outdated. It can't run the latest software. This isn't some great conspiracy to get you to have to buy a new phone. It's just simply, at the time you bought the 6, hey, that was the latest and greatest, but it's over 5 years old now. That hardware can't run the latest software, and you've got to remember something. What I'm basically saying here is if you can't update to the latest software, you don't really want to update your apps at that point, because if you're using, for example, like a bank, let's just say like, Bank of America. If Bank of America updates the banking app that you're using regularly, and they update it so that it's only going to work with version 14.0 or higher, well, guess what? You can't open up and run that app anymore. So you've got to make sure that if you cannot update to the latest software, you really need to make sure before you update any of your apps that they are still going to be compatible with the software that's on your phone. So that is totally on you. You've got to make sure. This again is going to be a rare occurrence. It's not something that's common, and even an iPhone 6s can actually run the latest software. It's just like the iPhone 6 or earlier, it can't. So eventually, even like with my iPhone 11, that phone eventually down the line will come to a point when it can't run the latest software, and at that point I'm going to have to weigh my options. Do I want to be able to continue to use the latest software for my apps and for the phone? If so, I'm going to need to buy a new phone. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to give my opinion on, and this is just my opinion, is there another time when you shouldn't update your phone? And I'm going to say possibly. And what I mean by this is, remember, the brand new operating systems that is going to come out every year is going to come out at basically the end of September and into October. And that is when Apple is always going to be releasing the latest software. So for on the phone right now, it's version 14.0 and higher. And then when October rolls around, it's going to be 15.0. That'll be what comes out. So what I like to do personally is I like to wait. So when October rolls around, I'm going to let 15.0 come out, and then I'm actually going to wait until there's been several updates since then. So like maybe even up to 15.4, and that'll be around like the middle of November. And so I like to just hold off, and I like the latest software to be out, so if there are any issues and glitches and whatnot, that Apple can go ahead and find them and fix them very quickly, so that by the time I update in November, then I know that I'm downloading software that I know they've already kind of caught some of the things that they know are causing some possible issues. Does that mean you're in danger if you update your phone in October? Definitely not. It's not something to live in fear of. It's just something that I personally like to do. And that's honestly just my opinion. If you want to make sure that you get the latest software, then hey, no problem. Just download it when it's available in September and October. For me, I just wait till November, and that's when I do it. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, and then come on back and continue to learn how to become an iPhone expert. And don't forget to share this with your friends and family so that I can turn them into iPhone experts too, so they will quit bugging you for all the answers. They will be able to get it on their own. Alrighty guys, thank you so much. We will catch you next time. See ya. Survive.